The content never stops. Good morning, everybody. It is about 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time. Welcome in to the Coach and Company podcast, a separate 20 or 30 minutes, never longer than a half hour, as we dive a little bit deeper into the biggest topics in sports. If you missed the morning show live on Stadium and Amazon and DirecTV and all of those platforms, I encourage you to go back and watch it on our YouTube page. Now, on this Memorial holiday, we have dedicated this entire day, all of our content, to the wonderful men and women who have laid down their lives literally over the last many decades and continue to do so in the line of duty. A shout out to my brother-in-law, Lieutenant Colonel Adam Schaefer, who had 3 deployments, married my sister, 3 kids, 2 born in Germany, 1 born in South Korea. He was also a recovery pilot. What does that mean? It means that when somebody got hurt out in the desert of Afghanistan, he would get in his helicopter, go out, risk his life to pick them up and get them back to safety and allow them to recover. It's an incredible life that not everybody is made for. So shout out to all of those. And that's why we're able to do this show today, the freedom in this incredible country. Now, one of my favorite guys, he never stops grinding with me. He is our numbers guy, and he joins me today, Rafael Esparza. And Rafael, an incredible weekend of sports. The Indianapolis 500. Ben Griffin, a great story, wins the Charles Schwab Challenge. And the NBA, you had a blowout that made news, and then last night, the Knicks, they make NBA history as the first team ever to come back from 3 different 20-point deficits to win in the postseason. Good morning to you. And how impressed were you with the Knicks last night?
Very impressive, but at the same time, like if it wasn't for Cat, they would have lost another game. I'm tired of these teams blowing double digits, and then all of a sudden you get a miracle win, and then we have to hear, are the Knicks back? Are the T-Wolves back? When we've seen some really garbage, lopsided games in the playoffs, and I'm even including the NHL lopsided games. So I'm a little bit torn, but excited that we now have a series because it could be totally different tonight and tomorrow now in the NBA playoffs.
I was sitting last night at my daughter's year-end theater banquet for her school I live out here in California, so theater's really big at almost every school. And so me and the dad that was sitting next to me, we had our phones up. They were kind of up against one of the water glasses. We didn't stream the game live because we thought that would be a little bit rude. But we did have the score up at ESPN.com watching it. And when they were down 20, I almost shut my phone off. And they kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And I don't know if it's just a weird coincidence, but the Knicks have shown, as the Pacers have shown, that when their backs are against the wall, somehow they figure it out. But they do it in so many different ways. And last night, Jalen Brunson, he was in foul trouble. 5 fouls at the end of the third quarter. He was on the bench. They couldn't play him. So Cat, who admittedly, Raphael, has one of the most annoying post-made basket three-pointer celebrations in the history of time, he scores 20 of his 24 in the fourth quarter. And how much do you think that him doing it that way could ultimately help them game 4 and moving forward?
Oh, it's huge helpful because when Brunson's on the court, I think everyone knows he's going to have the ball pretty much dominant through the game. Now, when he was off the court, other people had to step up. Yes, Cat was scoring the points, but we had people offensive rebound. We had switches that were going good for Cat, which he had a lot of open shots at the free throw line that he was also nailing, not just a three-pointer. So I want to say the foul trouble kind of helped the Knicks to expand their offense, and that could help them coming into the next game.
It's amazing how the storylines flip. When it was 55-35, and I went back and watched the highlights on ESPN, and the energy was amazing. The crowd was amazing. But it almost felt like they fell into the same trap that all those Knicks fans did when they were chanting, Knicks in 4, Knicks in 4, before the clock read 0-0-0. And it was almost like they were in like a Mardi Gras situation. We're celebrating. It's a holiday weekend. We're up 20. We're going to go up 3-0. This is our year. Bring on Oklahoma City. Bring on Minnesota. But wait a second. And so Jalen Brunson said after the game, he said, no lead is safe on either side. So when you're in the locker rooms now, and both teams have come back from 20-point deficits, Pacers, I think it was 18, but close. Going into game number 4, I think that the Pacers should have more confidence because of how they played in the first 2 series and how they played in February, March, and the beginning of April. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I look back at a couple games, especially with the Celtics who blew their leads. I thought shot selection that ruined the Pacers than why they lost the game with a big
Mm-hmm.
comeback. And then the Celtics shot selection. If you look back and why'd you drop double digit leads, look on your shot selection. It was just horrible. Pacers were jacking up threes, joking like, "Oh, we're up by 20. I'm going to jack up this three and get the crowd involved in it." No. Keep the metal to the pedal. How about a layup to get 2 points instead of 0 points? Shot selection is the reason why they lost that game.
I didn't see if this happened, but I assume from some of the posts that I saw on social media that it did not. Remember Charles Barkley said after game 2, he said, "Hey, Halliburton's dad, who got banned for getting in Giannis's face in the other series, he's paid his price. Let him in the building, Adam Silver, for game 3 and 4." And we didn't know if he was going to do it or not because he's been banned from the building. And I kind of agreed with Charles. There was a meme, I don't know if you saw it, Raphael, where somebody said this was, and I don't know his dad's name, I don't know his first name, but he goes, Halliburton's dad at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Now I gotta go look for that now.
It was hilarious. Oh my God. Can you imagine being Halliburton's dad? And this is the first real chance that your son has to compete for an NBA championship. And because you were an absolute moron, you're not allowed in the building when your son is the face of said franchise. That would destroy me. Destroy me. What about you?
I guess I can ask my twin brother because his oldest boy's in volleyball state championship game on Tuesday, and my brother's not allowed to go because he got booted out of the arena. I think in regionals he was arguing with the ref, and him and another father got booted, so they can't even watch the state game on Tuesday.
Oh my God. These referees and officials, they don't play anymore. There's been way too many videos of guys punching refs and yelling at refs and pushing refs and officials. So they don't play. If you get anywhere near, you gone.
Yeah, my brother did say he dropped a couple F-bombs and stuff like that. So he owned it. My brother's like, "Hey, you know what? I was out of control. I was in the moment." So he owned it.
Stonefish in the chat says, "Where's the rest of the company?" Stonefish, this is our podcast. 2 different shows. We have the full hour show on Stadium from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then we do a separate podcast. That's what this is. And it's always me and Raphael or just myself, but it's never the entire company. But Stonefish, thanks for finding us. We do this every single weekday as long as I am not traveling. So that game 4 is tomorrow. Game 4 for the Timberwolves hosting the Thunder. That is tonight, Raphael. And and you never know how a team is going to react when they're down 2-0 and they're playing the best team in the NBA. Sometimes it's very easy to just pack it in. But I feel like now, because the narrative of this year's playoffs has been comebacks, never say die, you're never out of it, that even though they're down 2-0, Minnesota came out and they said, hey, if we just put the pedal down, we can get back in this thing. They had north of 70 points in the first half. They scored 143 for the game. They win by 42. I think that tonight, why change the game plan? Play up tempo. Don't get caught in a half-court game, which is what happened in games 1 and game 2. And in a half-court game, the Thunder have too much length, too much size, too much physical strength. To me, I'm playing the over tonight, which is hovering around 218, 219. But I think they've got to play a fast-paced game in order to score enough points in order to win this game and tie the series at 2 games apiece.
Yeah, and don't forget that last game that they played, they barely had any points in the first quarter. I think it was 26-22. The under was like 55 in the first quarter. That's because they were going to the basket. They weren't selling for 3-pointers. They wanted to get in control early, put pace, fast pace, get easy shots. And then the 3-pointers came in late in the second, third, and fourth. So I like the way how Minnesota played. If they can play like that, this series is going to be tied 2-2. Now, for a numbers point of view, this number's a solid 3 across the board. Every book has 3 right now. It's going to be very interesting to see which way the money comes in for the rest of the day, because we could see 3.5. I think OKC money is going to come in because, again, the zigzag theory. NBA bettors love to do that. They don't think the OKC is going to give up 143 points a game, and I don't think Minnesota's going to shoot 53% like they did last game. So it's going to be very interesting. If you like the Timberwolves, I say wait. You could probably get +4 during live betting right away.
Man, I have always found that patience is the hardest thing for me to do. And listening to experts like yourself say, wait. No, I want to get in right now. I like that 3. It started at 2.5. But that's why we tell people all the time to watch these shows, to watch you guys, because as it's trending and you're looking at the numbers, you understand it way better than the average person sitting at home or the average bettor sitting at home, because you've done this for over 30 years behind the counter, behind the closed doors, and you see when things are moving and numbers are moving and trends are moving, that more times than not, you are going to be correct. Is that the correct way for the line to move, in your opinion?
Yeah, because I think we could all agree OKC is the better team. No disrespect to Minnesota, Ant-Man and Julius Randle. They've been playing really good ball this playoffs, but OKC is just overall a deeper team. They have better stars. I think they have better guard play in this one with SGA, the MVP. So I think that's why the bettors are going to look at the better team. Again, they're not going to score 143 points in back-to-back games, even though this game is in Minnesota. So I think that's why OKC money will come in. I think we'll see 3.5. I already talked to a local book this morning, and they're expecting the same thing. OKC money line, because why get -155, -160, and just go for the win? And then people who are going to bet Minnesota, I don't want the +3. I want the money line at either +143. So it's a lot easier to balance your book if the bettors are just betting money line and not the point spread.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I also have a hard time betting a money line when I'm betting on the underdog. When it's like -110, even though you're giving me 50 cents with your explanation, in my mind, I've always been like, but I want that 3, maybe even buy it to 3.5 and lay 20 cents, instead of really looking at the game and saying, I think that Minnesota can win this game and will win this game. So I don't need the 3. And over the long haul, if you are a bettor that plays every day or 5 or 6 days a week, all of those 40 and 30 and 20 cents, they add up over time. And I think that was one of the hardest things for me to understand, how much, if you look at it, the juice can cost you and how much extra money you spend by not factoring in the juice.
Well, if you're looking at, let's say, this game itself, and all right, it's the money line is what, +145 or +3. If you're looking at Minnesota, you're like, if you're going to bet the money line, you need to know in your heart, does Minnesota actually have a chance to win? Now, if you're just looking, okay, I think this number is way too high, I think it's going to be a 2-point favorite, then no, don't bet the money line. Take the points. In order for you to hit that button that says money line +145 in your heart, not your wallet, in your heart, you need to realize, okay, I think Minnesota has a chance to tie this series up. They go back 2-2 to OKC. If you just think it's going to be a close game and maybe OKC wins by 2 or less, then just take the plus points.
All right, that game is tonight, 8:30. Probably tip is going to be around 8:40 or 8:42 for the Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. You are listening or you are watching Coaching Company, the podcast. We are here most weekdays when I am not traveling. I will, Raphael, be traveling tomorrow, so we will not have a podcast tomorrow. I have the Memorial this week, our next signature event for the PGA Tour. We have a special betting stream sponsored by ESPN Bet, and it's Jack's Place. It's one of these special events on the PGA Tour calendar, and all the big names are scheduled to be there, as we just have a couple of weeks until the U.S. Open. Now, Scottie Scheffler had his C game over the weekend, still finished in a tie for 4th.
You were nice seeing his C game. You were nice seeing his C game, because that back 9 wasn't pretty.
He couldn't make anything, and still only lost by 4.
Well, I understand
or 3. That. Yeah, I mean, it's probably his D game. You're probably right. Ben Griffin, shout out to Ben. Incredible story, and this is why I wish we had more time to do more. Producer man's going to kill me. Do more content than we're already doing, because the story yesterday, I encourage people to go back and watch our weekend rewind. A guy who quit the game 4 years ago because he couldn't afford it. And now he's winning $1.7 million on the PGA. Well, it's an amazing 4 years. And that's how quickly that life can turn around. Now, speaking of life turning around, for Shohei, he's always gone like this. And last night, I turned the TV on. I'm getting ready to go to the banquet, see my lovely daughter do her thing. And second pitch in, Carl Ravitch on the call. And there's Shohei, number 2 of a Senga. 18 home runs. And they had all of this fastest. He's basically off to the best start of his career. And he's the only player to ever go 50-50. And he's on pace for over 50 again. But it's what he was doing behind closed doors that really has your juices flowing. What else did he do over the weekend?
He pitched a simulated game yesterday, and one of his fastballs was between 94 and 96 miles per hour.
Wow.
And he's working on a cutter similar to Mariano Rivera. If he has that, it's lights out. Now, I meant to say this earlier and watch the show again this morning. Is there such kind of a West Coast bias? What if Ohtani played for the Yankees? I mean, yes, everyone says, okay, Ohtani's a Dodgers. Dodgers a big brand. But it's West Coast brand. You know the difference. West Coast brand is totally different than East Coast brand. If Ohtani played for the Yankees, they might be saying he's the best athlete overall to ever play a sport if he played in pinstripes. I think he's being overlooked, and I can't believe I'm saying this because he's in the West Coast.
The difference between the two, because I live 52 miles from Dodger Stadium, is that there are trains and public transportation, but not a ton of people take those. In New York, it's so concentrated. You got 8 to 10 million people all taking the subway, all taking the trains. I lived in Stamford, Connecticut when I was in the WWE. That's a 42-minute ride to Grand Central Station, which is in New York City. Because of that, because people live up and not out, in LA, they live out and not up. He would be, I kind of compare it to Derek Jeter when he was in New York City. And he was such a big star, but he was not a huge star with the Japanese culture. We're talking about a guy who's a megastar in 2 different countries. Name me another player that is as popular as Shohei in 2 different gigantic countries like Japan and the United States. And you put him in New York, which has a really big Asian community. I think that's why he was able to defer 680 million of his 700 million. He makes so much money off the course. I once did a deep dive on Hideki Matsuyama, who reportedly turned down a $300 million deal from Live Golf. Because when you're a star, Raphael, in Japan, you make so much in endorsement money that it dwarfs the money you make playing your sport. And so Shohei has $680 million coming to him after he's done playing. He only makes $2 million a year, but yet is still making $50 to $100 million when you count that in. It's insane what this guy has done and continues to do.
Yeah, the only closest person I think that can maybe tap into Ohtani's type of stardom would have been Yao Ming if he stayed healthy. Because don't forget, he was back and forth on whether. I mean, he came into the league a little bit later in his age than Ohtani to coming here to the States. But I think Yao Ming can maybe kind of be that type of person that had both statues of USA and China. I think it was in China fans.
One time, I worked at MSG Network at the end of my WWE career. I did like the pregame show and halftime show. They have an elevator at MSG. What do they call that kind of elevator where you open it up like you open where you move things up and down?
Yeah, I can't think of it. I know what you're talking about. The
And
casinos have
so,
them.
yeah, exactly. So that's where the players go up and down. And at MSG, they go down. It opens right by the employee entrance, and then the players walk out. There's that big awning, and then they park the bus right out there a lot of times. So the players will walk a little bit unsupervised with their security, maybe about 15 or 20 yards. I once was getting on because I always go out that entrance to go to where I park my car. The thing opens up. There's two people on the elevator. The team manager for the Rockets and Yao Ming. Raphael, he was so large. I could not believe how big this man was. And he used to make Shaq look small. But I'll never forget it. And the manager had to be 5'2", 5'3", looked like it was his child. And it was a grown ass man. I don't think I'll ever see anybody bigger than Yao Ming. I think he was 7'4" officially. He had these thighs that were as big as my body. I think he walked around at 300 pounds, but not a fat 300, like a rock solid 300.
I heard he's the nicest guy. The nicest guy. They say he's one of the nicest guys to ever play in the NBA. That's a big, bold statement, because I heard Olajuwon was one of the nicer guys as well. But when you can say that after your career, that you're down as one of the nicest guys to ever play in the league, that's a big statement.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So you mentioned playing in New York, how different it could possibly be for Shohei. What about Juan Soto right now? Because I think it's hard for people to believe, and maybe behind closed doors, Juan Soto's laughing at all of us. But when you play in New York, it's one of two ways. It either is like Aaron Judge, who remember last year, even though he had a great year, did nothing in the World Series, and he's getting crushed on the back page of the New York Post. So when you sign for $700 million, you'd love to believe that nothing can bring you down. You'd love to believe, I got all the money in the world, I'm good to go. But it feels like, to me, it's starting to affect him a little bit. Only 8 home runs through the first 2 months of the season. And even though the Mets are having a good season, it could be even better if he would be hitting at all. Do you think the slow start and the scrutiny of New York is getting to Soto just a little bit?
I don't think the scrutiny is. And I thought he was going to have a really hot start, because everyone thought, he's not going to have the lineup that the Yankees have protecting him. Well, they still have Polar Bear, and the Mets still have a nice lineup. I just think he's just struggling. He used to struggle a lot when he played in Washington. He throughout the season he would get hot. So I'm not gonna put too much stake. They're still winning games. They still have the Polar Bear hitting his stuff. They're not talking about the lack of home runs he's doing. How about we talk about the Polar Bear? He hasn't been really jacking up home runs, and Lindor's not really doing anything at leadoff. So I just think it's the overall. But hey, their pitching has been lights out, and their bullpen has been lights out.
Yeah, if they can continue that way. Last night, their pitching was great despite the leadoff home run allowed. They beat the Dodgers 3-1. I think it was fantastic last night for the Mets. One question before we get the hell out of here. And remember, we never go longer than 20 to 30 minutes every day here on the podcast. 45R5K says, Coach, do you watch Raw and OKC game at the same time? 1,000%. I find it easier, Raphael, to watch my Netflix on my iPad, which I always have right here, than I do trying to put it on my TV, even though I've got a Roku and it's easy. But I like watching Netflix on my iPad, and I like watching the game on ESPN or TNT on my big screen. That's what I prefer. What about you?
I agree. I have two 28 TV hanging in my office, two 24s, and then I have a small 16 right next to me, and I'm mostly watching the small 16, but one more than all the other big ones. So I agree with that, but I will also be watching NHL hockey at the same time as I'm watching Raw and OKC.
That's true. Tonight. Which game is tonight? Tonight is the
Panthers.
It's going to be
close
over.
It out.
It's going to be over. 3-0. Florida's up. In the Zaslow mansion, you can just hear the kids screaming already. Carolina, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's been amazing. It's funny because we've talked a lot about both sports, been great up until this point, and now we get to the conference finals, and we're seeing a lot of blowouts. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It seemed like yesterday King Lettuce was on the show saying, I'm glad the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals has started because we don't have to see blowouts anymore. The blowouts have continued, and now it's even rubbed over to the NHL. We've seen 6-3, 6-1s. I'm totally blown away. All NHL playoffs that we've seen 5, 6, 7 goals in the back of net by just one team. I'm used to seeing 2-1s, 1-0s, 4 overtime games with a 2-1 final. It's been a really crazy NHL playoffs, but I've been enjoying it because chicks like goals.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Raphael, as always, you're the man. Thank you very much, brother. I will see you tomorrow. As always, on our Tuesday edition. By the way, King Lettuce will be on the show tomorrow. Do not forget Coach and Bro today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also catch it on demand. And we launch Coach and Bro on Stadium, the Stadium Network, on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time for our very first show in 110 million homes. And then next Wednesday, excuse me, we will move that show permanently to 11 p.m. Eastern Time right after Combat Zone on Stadium. So we're excited. Vince Russo is excited. So I'm fired up. So in an hour and 15 minutes, we will have that show. If you want to be a part of it, a lot of you out there know how to do it. We're building our fan base slowly but surely, and you guys have been absolutely amazing. That's going to do it for now. For Raphael, my numbers guy, for Producer Man, I am the coach. We will see you, I believe, Wednesday for the next edition. There's only one. The Coach and Company, the podcast. Take care.